7 men's stories, exciting entertainment.
The greatest bank heist of all time. The incredible story of the Banco Central in Brazil. The story begins in Fortaleza, a coastal city in northeastern Brazil. In early 2005, a gang decided to execute the largest bank heist in the country's history. But they didn't want to use traditional methods like weapons or violence. Instead, they planned something both genius and incredibly risky: the construction of a tunnel directly beneath the Banco Central to reach its vault. Their first step was the perfect cover. The criminals rented a small house near the bank and posed as gardening professionals. Every day, they could be seen tending plants and removing soil from the property. To neighbors and passers-by, everything seemed completely normal. No one suspected that an underground masterpiece of tunnel engineering was taking shape beneath their feet. For 3 months, they worked almost non-stop. The tunnel stretched about 80 meters, narrow and running directly under busy streets and buildings. They used pickaxes, shovels, and even professional-grade tunneling equipment. To dispose of the excavated dirt without drawing attention, they packed it into sacks and discreetly transported it away through their gardening business. What made this tunnel extraordinary wasn't just its length, but its quality. The gang reinforced it with wooden beams and plastic sheeting to prevent collapses. They also installed lighting and ventilation systems, enabling them to work day and night. It was as if they had hired engineers specializing in tunnel construction. But that wasn't all. The thieves planned every detail meticulously. They practiced entering the vault quickly and transporting the cash bundles efficiently. They estimated they could steal at least 70 million euros, a huge risk, but an even greater reward. This crime required both courage and extreme precision. And indeed, 3 months of hard work paid off. Their tunnel led them directly beneath the Banco Central's vault. The day of the heist, the weekend of August 6th to 7th, 2005, was when it all happened. The Banco Central was closed and the streets around the bank were quiet. It was the perfect time to strike. The thieves crawled through their tunnel, which brought them directly to the floor of the vault. Months earlier, they had carefully measured the vault's exact location, and their calculations were precise. But the vault was secured by a massive steel wall considered virtually impenetrable. The gang, however, came prepared. They brought heavy machinery, drills and cutting tools capable of penetrating the steel. It took hours, but they eventually breached the wall. What awaited them inside must have been overwhelming. Millions of banknotes neatly stacked in bundles. These were Brazilian reais, unregistered and therefore untraceable. It was exactly what the gang had planned for. The thieves worked through the night, transporting the cash through the tunnel using small rail carts they had specially built for the job. It was a logistical masterpiece. Over 3 tons of cash were moved through the tunnel without arousing any suspicion. By Monday morning, when bank employees arrived for work, they were met with an unbelievable sight. The vault was empty. No alarm had gone off, and the bank's security measures were rendered completely useless. The culprits had vanished without leaving a trace. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. The aftermath and investigation. Monday morning began like any other for the Banco Central employees until they stepped into the vault. The shelves, usually brimming with cash bundles, were bare. No alarms had been triggered, and there were no signs of forced entry. It was as if the money had simply vanished. It quickly became clear this was no ordinary robbery. The culprits had outsmarted one of Brazil's most secure banks, completely undetected. The news spread like wildfire. Brazilian authorities faced immense pressure to solve the case quickly. Over 150 police officers were assigned to the investigation, including special units and seasoned detectives. The first lead took them to a rented house just a few streets away from the Banco Central. The house, officially operating as a gardening business, turned out to be the gang's headquarters. Investigators found tools used for tunneling, remnants of dirt, and initial clues pointing to the masterminds. But the culprits had already fled. Detectives were left scratching their heads. The tunnel, constructed with incredible precision, appeared to have been built by professional contractors. Who were these criminals capable of planning and executing such a flawless heist? The police launched a nationwide hunt for clues. But, as is often the case with perfectly planned crimes, it wasn't investigative work but human greed that provided the first breakthrough. One member of the gang began living extravagantly, buying expensive cars, moving into a lavish house, and flaunting his newfound wealth. For his neighbors, this sudden change in lifestyle was suspicious, especially given his previously modest circumstances. These reports led detectives to their first suspect. Piece by piece, the police managed to identify more members of the gang. They discovered that the group consisted of over 20 individuals, including skilled laborers, planners, and financial experts. But despite the arrests, one major problem remained. Most of the money was still missing. Of the 70 million euros stolen, only about 7 million euros was recovered. The rest? Still a mystery. Investigators theorized that the money had been smuggled abroad or laundered through various schemes. Some gang members reportedly invested in real estate or started businesses to legitimize their wealth. Other theories suggest that a significant portion of the cash ended up in the Brazilian underworld, distributed among different criminal organizations. What frustrated the police most, however, was the fact that the masterminds behind the heist were never captured. Many of them managed to flee the country and start new lives far beyond the reach of Brazilian authorities. The Banco Central heist remains one of the largest and most spectacular bank robberies in history. It demonstrates the extent of human ingenuity, but also that even the most brilliant plans rarely leave no trace. The story of this heist ends with unanswered questions and a lesson. Perfectly planned crimes can unravel due to simple mistakes like greed and carelessness. And yet, a bitter truth lingers. Over 90% of the stolen money was never found. The masterminds, likely living in luxury somewhere in the world, while their less cautious accomplices faced the consequences. For law enforcement, this case stands as a reminder of how even the most secure systems can be overcome by creativity and determination. An unsolved mystery. The Banco Central heist remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. Many of the key players were never apprehended, and countless theories surround the whereabouts of the money. Some believe it was smuggled abroad, while others suggest it was invested in real estate or businesses to launder it. There are even rumors that some of the thieves have started new lives under false identities. But one thing is certain: the Banco Central heist stands as a prime example of criminal ingenuity and proof that even the most meticulously planned crimes rarely go unpunished.
Feel free to follow this channel to avoid missing any new content. Disclaimer: the images are AI generated and are for illustration purposes. The stories on this channel are researched to the best of our knowledge.